Thanks for having me. My name is Malte. I'm the CTO of Vercel, the front-end cloud provider and the creator and maintainers of Next.js, the most popular React framework. I'm originally from Germany. I don't live there anymore. I live in California for many years, but it's always amazing to be back. I've also been a web developer for 25 years, and I've been part of pushing the web forward and redefining web development. And with that, I think it's safe to say that we're kind of in the middle of a transformation where the web will be different in the next 10 years in a way that we haven't seen before. And in fact, that's kind of in the middle of economic turbulence, but web development, and we fortunately see this in our business, is thriving. We're pushing the web forward at unprecedented speeds. In fact, the fastest ever growing app is a web app. This is ChatGPT, and it happened on your laptop. This is really interesting, right? Like in this mobile-dominated world, the value of this app was so amazing that just growth from people using it on their desktop computer led to something that is absolutely unprecedented. And that kind of shows also that we're in a new era of application development where we don't pick a paradigm like mobile development, but people kind of just go where they want to be, right? I think many of us have witnessed this. Like I'm seeing ChatGPT use it for Vercel every day. We use it for stuff like making marketing copy. But even more interesting, like I have these super experienced, super high-powered engineers, and they use ChatGPT to be more creative about finding solutions to problems. So with that, we have this new environment. There's a better time to build with an incredible opportunity ahead of us. In fact, the only way how I can personally describe what's currently happening in our platform is this complete Cambrian explosion of creativity, where something very much new is happening. And I think it's really interesting to take a look as to why. But some data here. So this is the API calls from Vercel's platform to OpenAI's APIs, right? It basically was nothing just a few months ago, and it exploded 5,000x in just 2 months. And now it's one of the most popular API backends and are pretty much in a very scaled platform. So the question is, why is this happening, right? Why are we seeing this Cambrian explosion? As mentioned in the intro, before joining Vercel, I was at Google for almost 12 years, right? And I actually, personally, I was building AI applications, right? Like this was happening. In fact, thinking back to 2019 at Google I/O, Sundar Pichai on stage, the Google CEO, was saying, we're now an AI-first company, right? But I don't think that many of you, it doesn't change anyone's life in any particular way, right? So what changed? What is different now? Let's take a look at what actually changed. So even just a year ago, if you wanted to build an AI application, you needed a bunch of PhDs, right? The AI community was this tight-knit, research-centered community of experts who are building stuff. There were hundreds of them, or maybe thousands, right? But something like that, right? Just a bunch of people working on this, where they were all experts. Fast forward to today, OpenAI introduced AI APIs. So I want to ask the audience, who here has either used an API or worked on a project that's used an API? Yeah, it's everyone, right? Every single person. That's how you build modern APIs, right? And now there's AI APIs, and that means that every software engineer can be an application developer for AI applications, right? The barrier went down to basically nothing. And that's why we're seeing this Cambrian explosion, because the pool of people who can build AI application is now every software engineer on the planet. So with that, we have to ask ourselves, okay, if everyone can be an AI developer, should we all be an AI developer, right? 1 to 2 years ago, maybe even at this conference today, still there's people as excited as I, am about AI talking about Web3. But I think it's safe to say that, with Web3, there was always this aftertaste of that sounds cool, that sounds like great tech, but would anyone really use this? Would real people use this? And it has been this adoption problem, right? But then if you think about your own usage of ChatGPT, we've all, I think, been at this kind of time when we used it, and it's yeah, it's actually valid, it's working, it makes value for me, right? And so it's tangible, and I want everyone to take away that don't, what we lovingly call random acts of AI, don't just put some chatbot on your side, right? That's not the point. The point is to really produce value and think from the user experience first. You know, the fact is, because the heavy lifting of the AI work is not done by you, it's by the AI API providers that you call, you don't even have to worry about that. But what you control is the front end, right? So you have to think front end first, you have to think user experience first. And with user experience, the expectation haven't changed. In fact, they're going up every day, right? People want visually captivating interfaces, and they want the complexity of AI hidden away. All they want is simplicity, functionality, and utility. I do think that this kind of perfectly fits into a wider shift to the front end. There's some data from Stack Overflow basically showing how the very popular Ruby on Rails backend framework, kind of is teetering out, while at the same time React, the most popular front-end framework, is exploding in popularity, right? And if you think about it, it makes business sense. So the front end, it's your profit center, right? It's where you interact with the users. It's where you control how to make more money on your application, because that's actually being interacted with, right? But traditionally, the backend, our cost center, is where most of the investment has gone, right? And I think that's a mistake. And again, we are kind of in this bigger trend where, maybe 10 years ago, when you wanted to make a major web application, you would go shopping. You would buy a content management system, shop system, something like that, right? But that had a big downside, which is when you wanted to support something new, let's say an AI API, you need to go talk to your vendor and ask for an integration, ask them to do it for you. And that is not a way to run a business if you are a modern business where you want to be in control of your destiny, right? And so the technology or the pattern that has emerged is what we call composable architecture, where you compose APIs into an application. The common way of doing it, is to, for example, pick a framework like Next.js, which then allows you to build your front end under your control and call maybe your X monolithic app as an API. And with that, your CMS, your shop system, your recommendation system, and your API system, they all use the same pattern of integration. Again, you just have to be an API engineer, whichever one is, to use it. Now, I do have a little bit of sad news, right? Which is these AI APIs are very slow. Slow as in they take a long time to respond. If again, go to your own usage of ChatGPT, when you make a query, it takes a while for that whole response to return, right? And in fact, it can easily take a minute, right? Obviously, we can't wait a minute for the response to come back, right? So, but if you actually look what ChatGPT is doing, you see one token kind of coming in at a time, right? And so the technical term for this is streaming. So that's what we have to do. We have to build streaming applications. Unfortunately, the traditional architecture that we've all been using for building web applications for the last years hasn't really been designed for this type of streaming, making it pretty difficult to deploy. And I'll be perfectly honest, we kind of stumbled into this. We built this primitive we call Vercel edge functions for a totally different purpose. We wanted a global compute primitive. We built streaming it into React and needed streaming for it. And then basically by accident, we realized we had built the perfect primitive for building API frontends, especially AI API frontends. One of the big benefits of it is the way this is built is you pay for net CPU for your pure processing time. And because you're mostly waiting for the backend, it's actually extraordinarily cheap. Where on a traditional computer, you would have to pay that computer to wait for the backend, right? So that's half what you need to do. The other half is that you have to build that streaming front end. Again, because we just aren't used to it, that's somewhat difficult, but we've developed an SDK, and this is not a product pitch. You don't have to use it. It's open source, right? You can, it's not bound to our company, so just go ahead and check it out. But it really helps you build these applications in a matter of minutes. In fact, I'm going to do it now. Obviously, I'm not typing myself. This is sped up 2x. We're going to build an entire ChatGPT style applications. So first thing we have to do here is configure OpenAI with an API key really quick. There's not a lot of work. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make an edge function, right? So you don't have to pay attention to this, right? It's basically we're just calling OpenAI and we're passing it to our SDK to make that work. Cool. We're done with this. Next thing we do is we're going to build the UI. We're we're going to build some HTML, and because we have the SDK, there's just like, everything's handled for us. What I think is really interesting, even if you don't know what's going on, you see all these completions. So actually AI with GitHub Copilot is actually helping us write this application. So we're almost done. We have a form now, starting web server, typing a query, and there it is. Like a AI application in what was a minute here, and originally was 3 minutes where the person did it themselves. And that's really everything I want to say. Again, like it's a pivotal moment. Everyone can be an AI developer. The tools are here, the AI APIs are here, and they're getting better every day. Now, it fits perfectly into this broader trend of composable architecture. I think many of you are probably on some kind of journey like this already. But think about AI as a user experience tool, right? Think about it in terms of user value. Think of it in terms of being front-end first, right? Obviously, we'd love it if you deployed that on the Vercel front-end cloud, but if that's not your thing, that's totally fine. My main message is that it's time to build AI applications. Thank you very much.